Hello, everyone. It's Annette Green. Welcome, welcome. It is week 10 of 2025, and every week I do a craft or craft related video. And today's video is all about ATCs, how to make them, what they're for, and some fun and efficient ways to make a lot of them. So let's get right into it. Okay, so if you Googled ATC, it would come up air traffic controller. Because I just did it because I wanted to tell you ATCs are artisan trading cards, and they are small, unique pieces of art that are traded with other artists. They are something that came about from a Swiss artist in 1997. I thought they were a lot older than that. But it was his goal to make art accessible to everyone, it says. I'm reading it right off the internet. So how do they work? Artists create unique works or small series of artisan trading cards. The artist signs and dates the back of the card, and then you trade and collect. It is super fun. So I am going to talk about making some super fast and then making a masterboard that makes them even faster. And this is so much fun. Okay, before I start anything, I have to show you my cute little microphone, new microphone. Isn't that the cutest? It has a little clip for my shirt. And I'm hoping that this is going to be so much better from all the popping and the cracking and whatever that used to happen with my old microphone. So let's get started here. Okay, so I just want to start with a basic ATC. And so if you are new to making ATC cards and you don't know, there is a standard size. Artisan trading cards always are 2.5 by 3.5. And apparently there's something sticky on my ruler. Sorry. And then you can find dies that will cut that shape, or you can cut that shape. This particular die that I'm using is from David. It was from the Art Journal. Let's see, ATC. It's not available anymore. The ATC Special, Art Journal ATC Special kit. And so it did have this die in it. You can find these anywhere. And then it also had this die, which is a little smaller, and it has the little stitches in it. So that's what I've used here just to get started. But, this is a great time. When you're making ATC cards, it's a great time to use up your scraps. And all your little bits that you see scattered all over my table. I have a page in my Beautiful Bounty paper collection that has all these wonderful cut aparts, and this is the perfect size for ATCs. So that's why I'm going to use a lot of these up, because I have to make a bunch. But that's a great place to start. So as you can see, I have that here. And I have so many of these left over from classes that I've taught. That's why there's just a ton of them over here. So I'm putting these to good use today. All right, so, if we were doing a traditional, like one at a time, handmade ATC, I like to follow the rule of having paper elements mostly, maybe a little bit of texture in the way of cloth, cheesecloth, ribbon, what have you. I don't know that I'll do it on this one in particular, but I just like to get a mix of things and some layering and overlapping. So as you can see, I've got this on the darker background, which is also from Beautiful Bounty. This is from a scrappy piece of lace paper die cut from my card maker special. I'm going to put that right across the top there. And, it doesn't take that long, but if you had to make a whole bunch, I'm going to show you a much more efficient way to do that in the way of Masterboards and that type of idea. Got a little glue on there. I'm going to put that across the top. If you were going to have a lot of things like hanging off the edge you wanted to trim, you could do this first to the card and then adhere everything to that green background. Probably should have done it that way, but that's all right. I can work with this. I don't tend to pop up a lot of things because I know that people, when they trade these, they're putting them into sleeves or some sort of booklet. So I would probably keep this all fairly flat. Sometimes I pop something up with a little foam tape. So that was just an extra little cut apart from my paper that I had stamped on. I painted the edges of everything already, and I had this extra little heart, sanded the edges. It's the same as this color cardstock behind that cut apart. I have this little ticket, so I'm thinking I'm going to put that together right there. And I'm doing this without speeding up or skipping through steps, just so you can see how long does it take to make one ATC card. That's kind of involved. I mean, some people will, just glue a couple things on a piece of paper and call that an ATC. I really don't feel like that's true to the whole ATC world, but sometimes people do it that way. And some people think that this isn't a true ATC because maybe I'm not using paint or mixed media. It really is up to your own interpretation, really. Okay, so I had this little ticket in my stash. I'm not even sure where that's from. Maybe from one of Esther's papers. I have a whole bin of things from Esther's papers that I did some cut aparts on. Now I have a stamped and die cut bee. That's from my Love and Roses set, and also the layered butterfly has the bee die that coordinates with that Love and Roses stamp set. So I definitely stamped it first, then die cut it out with the coordinating die. And I can link that below, see if that's still available. But this is where I might say that this is done. This would be a really nice ATC to trade with somebody, don't you think? You can add all kinds of things. You could add some metal to this. You could have put some cheesecloth or whatever bundled up behind the bee, but honestly, that's pretty good. And that didn't take hardly any time at all. But I wouldn't want to do it this way if I was making 100. That would just be too much. Now, you could definitely do it where you're not doing it all in one sitting. You could say, I'm going to do 10 ATCs per week for the next 10 weeks. You could do that. So another way that we can do this and maybe get more out of, more bang for our buck, so to speak, is to make somewhat of a masterboard. And so I've got an 8.5 by 11 sheet of just kind of thin cardstock here. You could use paper or whatever, but I'm just going to keep it simple and use a white sheet of 8.5 by 11. And I'm just going to start gluing bits and scraps and pieces onto here. But what I want to do is I want to keep this fairly neutral, so then I can add a little bit of color later. So you can go to things like old books. This is a book of poetry of some sort, modern poetry that I found in an antique store. Cute little book. I'm looking for any kind of date, 1927, second book of modern poetry. So I'm going to use a little sheet of that. I have some music note paper here. I'll tear out a sheet of that. I have tons of this, so I'm not worried about using it up. And then I have my old dictionary here. I'll just tear something out of there. I have another dictionary that I got recently from an antique store that I will not be tearing up. So this is definitely my one that I tear from. The other one I might scan from, just to keep it nice. Okay, so I'm going to start to get these into smaller, manageable pieces, and I'm going to just start sticking them down with my good old Yoo-Hoo glue stick. To cut this in my trimmer, and it just tore it up, and I think it's because it's really old book paper. So I'm going to use a ruler instead and give it a tear that way. That's kind of nice too, because the edges are a little bit rough, which is pretty always. Okay, then I've got some random bits from my dictionary. I've got some poems. I've got some sheet music bits. Nothing has been measured. It's all just pieces. I just started cutting away with no plan yet. And you notice they're all very neutral. I have my little ticket here. I've got a bunch of tickets over here actually on a plate. And I'm just going to pick the ones that are most neutral, kind of fit with these kind of neutral backgrounds. So nothing too light, nothing too dark. Again, these are all cut from probably from Esther's paper. That's the same as that one, but we can still use that somewhere else on the page. So little bits, bigger bits. This is a good one. And don't be worried about it right yet. You know, as far as, well, that doesn't look very attractive. Don't worry about all that yet. You just have to get some things down. I have that one already. Okay, that's good from there. And now I'm looking at some border strips that I have from all my scraps over here, and I'm looking for really neutral bits from those. And I'm just going to put those up here aside, like accents for later, because they're not going to maybe make it on the very first layer. I have some ruler here that's from Harmonious Hodgepodge. There's another border strip that's music. That could be good. Everything's pretty neutral here. That's good. This is from Beautiful Bounty. Okay, so that's a good place to start. So let's just start gluing things down. And rather than you watch me do it, I will show you how I start, but then I will cut to the chase. To the side, I've got my glue stick and a scrap piece of paper. I'm only doing this on 8.5 by 11 because if I choose to scan this later, I know it's going to fit in my scanner. You could do 12 by 12. A lot of people do. But for now, I'm just going to stay with 8.5 by 11. And I'm going to try not to overlap too much just in case I don't scan it. And I actually want to cut this up because that's what a lot of people do. They actually cut the actual masterboard apart once they get all this down together. It's helpful to have some kind of burnishing tool like a bone folder. All right, so I'm just kind of going to turn things. Not everything's going to read the same way, and I'm just going to start collaging these all over. So here we're going to need a little strip, or we can put this at the bottom and put a strip here. Doesn't matter. Too much thought too early is not a good thing. Just get your neutral papers down on your page. Don't worry about it too much. So I think I will put this down here. Just trying to keep things fairly straight. I'm going to trim all this later, this rough edge down here, so I'm not too concerned about it. I'm not going to fill that gap until I get some bigger things on here. So I'll get one more piece on here up in the upper right corner, and then I'll just kind of check back in with you when I get everything down. So maybe this one we'll put on sideways over here. Okay. All right, let me get all the rest of this going and I'll be back. All right, well, that didn't take long at all, really just a few minutes to get that all on there, and it was actually kind of fun. Now, this is where you might go to the next step and start putting other things on here, like fussy cuts and things like that. I have a whole bunch of things I want to add, but I think what I want to do to leave my options open is I'm going to go make about 5 scans from this, just so I have this as a, multiple pages of this, just like this, so I can build it different ways. And this is just the very first scan. This is like a photocopy. Anybody can do this. You can take this anywhere and just scan it. As long as it can print in color, you're all set. And this is not too bad, This is usable. I can use this over and over, many, many sheets. I can save the scan and do it that way. What I do want to try next, though, is to actually, instead of making a copy, I'm going to scan it into Photoshop. This was printed on my inkjet printer, but if I scan it into Photoshop, then I can choose which printer I want it to print to. And I'm going to send that one to the laser printer, and we're going to compare. Okay, so this is the laser scan, and it's not quite as deep and nice, I don't think, as the direct copy on my inkjet printer. But it's very nice, and the point of showing you both of these is with inkjet. Remember, inkjet is a water-based ink, And I don't think there's any way that you can protect this from doing any sort of wet media on here from running. Somebody, if you know better than me, can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But the laser printer is different, the way that it prints. I could do wet media on here. I could put water on here. It's not going to run. So there's the big difference there. I know that not everybody has a laser printer, but just to point out that difference. Now, the other good thing about having the ability to scan the document is now you have it saved forever, no matter what printer you print it out to. But in Photoshop Elements, which is what I use, a very inexpensive, affordable photo editing software, you can take your base image and you can kind of play with the saturation of color. So this is the same exact file. I just took down the whole color palette to a very more white and more neutral, and got rid of a lot of those yellows just by sliding a little slider. This is sort of a peachy pink, but then you can go even more pink just by sliding this particular slider for your saturation. And then there's the same exact file in all blue. So I can use all of these. These are wonderful. And before you ask me, oh, could you please sell those in your Etsy shop as digital files? The answer is no, I cannot. Legally, I cannot, because I did not create any of these things. They are pulled from different sources other than, the dictionary. So I don't have ownership of those, so there's no way I could legally do that. But you can see it's not hard to do. You can do it yourself. And you could take it to your local library or wherever you have a color printer. And even if you don't have a nice printer like that at home. I have all these prints. These are all my inkjet prints. I could make a slew of these, but let's just take one. And want to keep them separate from the laser prints. And then you can take your die or just use your paper cutter to start making your base ATC cutouts. You can turn this any way you want. You can just start cutting it on the trimmer. Like I said, I want to use this one that has the little indented frame stitched, I should say. And then this is the actual ATC, which I'll use cardstock as a base because this is just 24-pound printer paper. It's not going to stand up on its own. So I wouldn't want to cut the actual ATC size just from this paper unless I knew I was going to back it onto something. So I'm going to get a little plan going here and cut some of these out of this whole sheet. Look at how great these are. When you cut them apart, something about having those big collaged pieces and then using a die or just to cut them on your trimmer. Just amazing. Look at these great backgrounds. So I cut some black cardstock for the base of my ATCs, but man, you could do a whole batch really fast this way by making those masterboards like that. Now, what you can do here is then take this to the next step and then start, adding some fussy cuts or die cuts or fabric or some kind of texture, layer some different elements, anything you want really, and create ATCs super quick. But if you want to go back to the masterboard, some people do this. So I've seen people who take their masterboard and then add the elements right to it. But that is just, it's just an option to consider. I don't know that I want to do that because I like having the neutral papers and to be able to build later. Once you do this, then you're set with this one masterboard looking exactly the same way with all these pieces and parts on here. It looks really cool. You could still cut this apart and use it as ATCs, but I'd be more apt to use this than with these collaged elements as a bigger element, like the base to a planner page or a book cover or an inside, the end papers to a book, something like that. So for my purposes, for making ATCs and batch making a whole bunch, I'm not going to do this. So I do have those elements to play with on my ATCs now because I took the time to do all that fussy cutting. So I'm going to go ahead and work on those. This time I'm going to be smart and I'm going to actually work on my paper before I get it down onto that black. So I've picked a few elements here, this fussy cut, sunflower, And a lot of this, if not most of it, is from my beautiful Bounty paper, which I don't know if it's still available or not. I've got a little piece of ribbon here. Has a little black in it, which is nice, but it's like a twill, very pretty. I got a little fussy cut bird. I got some black lace. So let's start building on here. So the first thing I want to do is get my lace down. And I think I'm going to try to go wrapping it around the back. It's not that thick of a lace, so I think it'll be okay. And I just want to put this across the top, like so. Not all the way to the top. Okay, quickly wrap that around. And you can clip this, and I think I will. I got some clips over here. Just for a second, just to kind of hold that, because it's pretty flimsy, as you can see there. And then also with the fabric, or fabric tack, I will go ahead and get this little piece of twill down. Kind of way over here. Okay, give that a second. Okay, and since I don't think anything else is going to be going off the edge here, I will get this down onto my base. Okay, looks good. Give that a little burnish. Okay, and then we can get the rest of our elements on here real quickly, and this one is already going to be done. Switch back to my little liquid glue over here. Take our bird, which I should probably ink him a little bit. I see some white edges. Just get that inked up real quick. Put the birdie, I think he's going to go down at the bottom, but I think we're going to put a few things behind him first, like this little red behind where his face is. Just a teeny little scrap from the paper. So we'll try to get his position roughly and then get that under there, right about so. Okay, then we can put the bird down. Okay, I'm going to move kind of quickly because I want to get the sunflower under there too, I think. Like that. Yeah. So before I go pushing his head down, we'll get this on quick. Don't want any of those little fussy cut edges coming up. So we'll just sneak that under there. Now we can press the bird. And then the last little bit I had was a teeny tiny piece with the ace of hearts that I thought I would tie in some of that red up there. And that is that. So that was pretty quick, right? So here's our first ATC. There's our second. I would say this one came together quite a bit faster. But yeah, you can play and see what works for you. All right, so let's do a few more. I decided I want to add a little staple just for some texture. A little tiny attacher staple right there. I like that. A little bit of metal on there. Looks good. Okay, this one. You know what? I think for time savings, I think I don't have to have everything separate. Even if things go off the edge, I think I'm going to trim it. So for sake of speed and to show you how quick you can do a whole batch, let's just do it. Let's just get all these down onto the black and then make it work. I feel like that takes too much extra time to do the layer and trim it off. You can still do it if you want to, but if you're trying to make a whole bunch and you're in a hurry, this is the way to do it. Now, of course, at the end of all these, if you wanted to give it that more artsy mixed media look, you could do some paint splatter or spatter, however you want to call it. That would look kind of cool on both of these, I think. For this one, I think I want to add some washi tape. I do still use a little glue because you just, well, you know, for this one, maybe because we're going to put stuff over it. I don't know if we need glue. So I did cut the edge nice and straight. This is a pretty like floral, very transparent washi. Okay, so that's just a little touch. You can add washi for texture. Now, what are we going to put on this one? This is so pretty as is. I hate to put too much. Need some, like, see, he's too big, I think. The bee is very large, but oh, that's pretty. You know me, love my bees. Let's trim this wing up a little bit. This is just fussy cut from my paper. And this is the largest bee on that one piece of paper in Beautiful Bounty. So I'll ink that up and get that on. Not a huge fan of fussy cutting. You could always use die cuts instead. There's plenty of beautiful die cuts out there that you could use. But I like my bee there. Looks good. I've got this little piece of border here that I like. Trying to see if we could bring in a little more color. Got this doily. Could be interesting. We have a little bit of lace from David's die. That could be fun. Got this piece as well. This one I've kind of trimmed down for something I was using it for. That could be pretty. Maybe coming below our little bit there. Oh, I don't know. No, I think I'm going to save that for something else. I had an idea for that a little bit later. I think that we're going to slice this and use this. We'll see how it looks. So I'm just going to, I'm not even going to think about it, just going to cut it. I can use that other piece elsewhere. Okay, a little high. Or do we want to do this? No. Let's go back to this. And then maybe this can be at the bottom. Oh, that's kind of sweet. All right, let's do that. But I do think I want to trim just a little bit more. And then we have to trim it where it's going to go off the sides. So, you know, I do think it might have been worth it just to wait to put that down when you get all your stuff on. Then we have to round this little corner. One thing's for sure with this kind of project, stuff is everywhere. I don't know if you can see it. There, I have stuff all over the floor. It's wonderful, great fun, but it is sort of a all over the place kind of project. Don't know what happened down here in the corner, but I'm going to cover that up with my strip anyway, so I don't care. So we'll get this down next. So the idea here is just a little bit less layering and less work by having your Masterboard base on there. So you can kind of just grab little bits and pieces and pop them on here. And it looks far more dimensional than if you stuck a plain piece of pattern paper back there as your background. So that's kind of fun. A little something hanging out there. That's pretty cute, just like that. Not a lot of dimension. There's no actual, except for the washi, there's no actual texture. We could add a little bit of a ribbon. I do have this kind of lace right here. We could put that, see, might be too much. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think I like it, actually. Of course. So back to the fabric glue. I hope you agree. I like that on there. All right, that's 3. Let's grab another. How about this one? For this one, I think we'll use a little black washi tape. I don't know if this is from Prima or if this is a Graphic 45 tape. I have so many and they're not in the original packaging, of course. So I don't know what companies they're from, but it's very pretty, very romantic. So that's black, and I think I want to use my little squirrel here, and I have this fern, just an extra die cut that I had in my stash. I think I want to have that kind of come down like so. So that's going to be tricky now that we have our paper on the thingy. So let's see. First we'll get rid of all that. And we can still use these little branches, so we're not worried about that. Let's see. Do we want to come down quite that far? He's going to be here. Don't know if I really want it that far down. So I think I'm going to snip away this and therefore that and make it easy on myself and just have that coming down here. All right, we can get that on now. Alrighty, got a couple of little ideas here. Got another one of those aces, but this time it's the ace of clubs. And get this little red strip because I'm wanting to work in some red because I have fussy cut this little mushroom cluster from my beautiful bounty. It was one of these, but it didn't have all the postal stuff on it. So I just fussy cut this one out because I just love that pop of red just for interest. Makes such a difference. Okay, so my plan is this. I believe I'm going to snip so he can get down here a little bit lower. We're going to snip this off straight. And I believe he will go down first because I want to put the mushrooms right around there. So we'll get him on next. Okay, put him right about there. And then we'll get our mushrooms on there next. You could use glue stick for this. I'm just going to stick with art glitter glue at this point. Little red down in that corner. And then to tie in a little bit more red, like I said, I had this little strip, and it's just a teeny little scrap from a border paper. But it's red, and it's got a little design in it. And so why not just stick that right over there? No rhyme, no reason. Just a strip. We don't care. Okay. It's just like a piece of tape there. Okay, and then we will put our ace of clubs at the top. I don't think I'll do a staple this time. I'll just stick it up there. And I think I'll go all the way up to the top of the black this time because the fern is going off the black. So we might as well up here. And there is another one. These are going fast. This is so much fun. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And we had the fourth. And I'm going to make at least 3 more, maybe more. I'm going to grab this one. And I think I want to work this lace into here. This is from David's new release not long ago. And it's called, appropriately, Lace. This particular die. So I'm just going to make a straight cut. And because it's kind of a bright orangey yellow, I just happen to have this, cardstock. So I wasn't going to recut the die just for this. This is what it's all about, like using little scraps and extras that you have. There's a little funny spot we want to get rid of. Nope, that comes in there. Okay, we'll just make sure we glue that into place properly. So I'm just knocking it down a little bit with this vintage photo ink. And it's not quite as tall as the ATC, which is fine. So I'm just going to butt it to the bottom here. Just slightly around that corner. Not necessary, but we'll do it. Yeah, that little bit. You know what? Let's get rid of that. Just hanging by a thread. All right, so we'll get this on next. Okay. Flush with the bottom. Okay, and I think this kind of orangey brown color is going to be really pretty with our owl. Oh, he is going to take over the whole show here. Let's see. We may cut him off because I want to work in a little bit more I don't want him to just be the only thing on here. And we don't want to cover up our pretty background entirely. So I don't know if this will, oh, that could be something. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna, sorry, owl. No owls were harmed in the making of this video. Get that there and perhaps that there, like he's peeking from behind the flower. Why not? That's cute. Looks cute. And then I have this, which is another part of that other thing that we used. I'm going to try to give this a little tear, a little bit of an angle. And then we'll put that, see how that didn't quite make it all the way to the top. So we'll put this up there like so. I think that'll be good. We'll go all the way up to the black on this one again. Love that. I believe I want to do a little something here, but let's stamp because we haven't done that yet. You could stencil, but I think I want to stamp a little flourish. So I'm going to use a Post-it note to do a little mask off here. Just enough to get a little something in that corner, and then we just have to decide what color. We don't want it to be too overpowering. We're going to go with Portobello. That is by VersaFine Claire. It's not going to be super pale, but I want it to be a little bold. So we just have to make sure we get a nice good hit. You could put this in your stamp platform if you were nervous, but I think that's going to be great. Aw, so pretty. Did you say this flourish was from Love and Roses? It is. It's the one I mentioned earlier that has the bee, a couple of different bees, butterflies, and they have dies in the layered butterfly set. I feel like this needs just one more thing. What do you guys think? Something. I grabbed the Delight stamp from CS385, Flowers and Nature. There's a lot of great words on here. So I just stamped it on a scrap piece over here. And I'm going to tear that edge there, ink it. And I think this is just what we need. I'm going to add a little bit more to the bottom of this card, but I think this is kind of what we need here. Up in this area, I believe, maybe, like so. And then I had another little bit of that, so I thought I'd put that down here. And I hope you like that idea, because that's what's going to happen. Okay, forgot to turn the camera on, but that's okay. We got that one done. I think instead of risking the old tiny attacher, I'm going to put a big staple top of that one, like so. Looks pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that one. So let's see. Let's do another. Here's this one. Okay, you might find this funny, but I was just digging into my bits and pieces and extra stuff, and I found this fish, and he's got quite the pinkish reddish hue to him, and a little bit of that mint green in the background, which kind of matches this. So fish and roses, why not? I think that's going to be kind of fun. Oh, I think that's hilarious. I had this one initially, but I think this one works better. So we'll save that other guy. I got a couple of things here. Just kind of looking for things in my stash that have the same kind of color coordination, color palette. A 50-cent fish with your roses. This tag's a bit big, but I thought it was cute. But we're not going to use that. I think that's going to go up there. This again is just cut apart from something, some paper. But it's like a minty green, so it's perfect. Thinking that'll go up there. And our fish. This fish is from one of Esther's books. Can't remember which one. I have all of them, and I've cut apart many of them, and just that's what I'm pulling from is bins and bins of stuff from her releases and her books. So there's that. I don't know about the 50 cents yet. Maybe over here to offset the pink and the red. I think that'd be cute. So let's just whack that off. Yeah, we can save that other half for something. Now, do we need seaweed? Maybe too much. So we need a little something. It's a little top heavy, right? So let me give it a decided to use this little border strip. This is from Harmonious Hodgepodge. I had this little sheet of paper, which was perfect for the width. And we're going to put this at the bottom just to add a little weight to the bottom of our ATC. Already rounded those little corners. Pink matches nicely. The red will tie in with our little circle over here. Okay, cute. Get our little ticket thing next. That's going to stay up in the upper left corner like I planned. But this time we're going to stay within the black. Okay, looks good. My cards want to curl just because of the glue stick still being a little bit wet. But by the time I put my little label on the back, that'll kind of balance that out. So I'm not worried about that. I'm going to put my 50-cent thing here. And I started to put it up a little higher, but I just wanted to point out something when it comes to composition. So see this division between these two elements? If you go up here, it's okay. But if you come down here a little bit and overlap, now you have three things overlapping. It's just so much more pleasing to the eye, don't you think? So now we'll get our fish on the bottom. And then this one definitely needs a little bit more to it, I believe. So we'll assess once we get this down. I do want this way down here. Overlapping here, overlapping there. This is really cute. Okay, so we need a little texture in here somewhere. I believe this is going to be a good alternative. Just something different. I have this really fun ribbon. Just a little bit of it left. I cut a little piece and I want to put that, I think, up there. I don't think it really works anywhere else nicely. So a little bit of fabric glue perhaps, or glue stick, because it's just so delicate and it's going to be hard to get big lines of glue on there. So I'm just going to off to the side and put a little glue stick, and that just adds some texture. We'll put that on there, let that sit for a minute with a block, and think if we need anything else on this particular ATC. Might be crazy, but I'm going to add a moth. Fish, rose, moth. Yep. Where do we want it? Up here? Yeah, I think that's so fun. This particular ATC would be great for a little bit of stitching or even some hand-drawn stitches. Okay, I think I'll just do one more for today, and I am looking through some things. I found this. This is also from one of Esther's books, and I'm just trying to decide how much of it do I need. It's so pretty. I have this one too. Pretty similar, just sort of flip-flopped. So I think I'll just fussy cut out this here pumpkin, gourd pumpkin. First, I'll test it with the leaves, which I like. Perfect. I was thinking we may have to cut those off, but I like them. Okay. So, of course, that makeout at the bottom. I've got an ace of clubs again. I could cut that little flower. We'll see. I'm trying really hard not to use anything but what I already have. Like, I'm not going to go digging for more stuff. I have, or cutting new stuff. I have plenty here. Just going to make it work. I do have this little ruler bit of paper here that I did find in the stash as well. We have a lot going on in the background paper here, so I don't want to take away from that. I think just the ruler part will be good, so we'll cut some of that. We can use the rest of that on something else if we want. And we could put this coming up here. Yeah? Or here. No. Okay. Around this corner a teeny tiny bit so that it can go here, and then we need to snip this off up here and round that corner. I wonder if you're a regular viewer here, I wonder, do you like the new microphone better? Sometimes with the other one, if I would laugh or kind of project a little bit, it would pop. And I feel like this one's better. I did a little test with my husband and it seemed quite a bit better. But you can tell me. Shouldn't be those hard spikes anymore. Okay, that's cute. We have this now. We have to think about other things. Maybe we'll come up from the bottom for a change with this little guy. Down there somewhere, maybe. And I do have this moth. Doesn't really work with this in particular. This is too big. Flowers we don't need. So we need a little something here. I think this might look kind of good. I don't want to cover up too much. Coming in off the side. So let's just whack that off. You can use that other half somewhere else. For sure. This was not carefully fussy cut, just a very loose, quick fussy cut because there's a lot of details in here I did not want to mess with. So I think that's going to go like so. And our little ace of clubs down here, and then maybe something that's still too big. Something round up here. Just saying. I don't think I have one of these cut out already. I want this clock. This is Love and Roses again. See, like I wonder, that plastic sound, was that just horrifyingly loud in the microphone? And since I have this scrap, I'm going to use this. I'm going to cut off the word post because I like that. I also like that leaf there, so I'm not going to cut into that. But we can use this word post somewhere, perhaps. You know, things don't have to make perfect sense, especially when you're doing collage, mixed media kind of stuff. Just like the fish and the roses. We don't care. Okay, post, that's ready. Clock. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I have this nice neutral kind of parchmenty paper. Might as well use that instead of throwing it away. And we'll stamp a little clock. And that'll be our round element. So we don't care what direction that's going right now. Did you see me teeter? Yep. Blurry. Okay, I got another piece over here of something. Something equally as neutral. I'll use that. Okay, that's better. 1 1/4 circle punch. Or if you have a die. There is a good circle die in my circles, banners, and ribbons die set. I think this is going to be perfect. I just knew I wanted a circle up there. So many straight lines. Okay, so let's get that bit out of there. And the clock, there's 12 up there. So I'm going to do that. Cut that off right about there. pop that on over there. Yes. Okay. There's that. Now, post we could have there like that. Looks good. All right, let's get the flower down first. Then we'll get our clock. So this will be it. This will be me wrapping it up now. I hope that you've enjoyed this, watching me make these, and maybe we'll make some ATCs. They're great to have if you go to a crop or you go to any kind of expo, to have some in your purse, in your pocket, or in a cute little journal with the sleeves where you can just find a friend, meet someone new, and say, hey, I'm trading ATCs. Are you into that? Something like that. Okay, there's that. Getting a little careless with the glue, getting tired. But if you were mass making these, I would say do all your steps for one item at a time first. So all those inside pieces after you've made your masterboard, if that's something you're going to do. Then die cut all your backgrounds if you're doing a matted background. And then just go to your stash and find cut-aparts and fussy cuts and extra tickets and trims and things like that. Speaking of trims, do we need a little trim on this one? I don't know. A little black trim? No, too much. All right, well, I'll think on that. It does need a little something, doesn't it? We'll take a look at these other ones here and see what else we can do on this one. I mean, it's not bad. It's just kind of flat. Feels like it needs something, don't you think? I grabbed some washi tape and I put it on there and I was like, no, don't like that. And I went to pull it up and it tore everything underneath it. So that's a yes. We're going to use that. So I'm going to put some down here as well. And I'm not going to trim it. I'll just push it around to the back. That adds just enough texture. Again, this is a great one that I could take to the sewing machine and do some black stitches around the edges. So I think I'll stop there though. If I do take it to the machine and sew it, I will put up a picture of it at the end here. But let's get all of our cards that we've done today out here to take a look. Like I said, I have got stuff everywhere. I had to push everything out of the way just so I could bring these back in. Okay, let's see. We've got these. And we've got these. So, I mean, those are pretty, whoops, those are pretty detailed ATCs, but it didn't take long because I had things prepared already. Wish I had an eighth one. That kind of bothers me. You got an oddball hanging out here. But that is how they look. So I hope you enjoyed that very much. I hope that you will give ATC making and trading a try. I do have to make 100. These are going to be for Banff. I do have 3 over there that I've done, but I can't show you because they're made with my new release coming out in the end of the month. So that'll have to be a secret just for a few more weeks. But there we go. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I see you again next week in the next crafty video.